Hey everybody, how are you guys doing tonight? It's been a very long week for me. I hope you can hear me okay. Let's just see what that microphone looks like it's doing there. Ah, looks like everything's okay. I'll move this mic over here for now, just so I can relax and talk for a little while and we can get things kicked off and started. Hope everybody's doing just fine this week. We're going to talk a little bit about solar panels and I've been doing a lot of work lately on. I got a big new shipment of used solar panels from our old house that shut down. They pulled a whole bunch of panels, and I ran into some unique things this time with used panels that I think some of you have run into before. And I wanted to kind of go over it with you and kind of give you guys an idea of how you can avoid some of these problems. And I guess that screams okay. How you can avoid some of these problems, and if you're going out to buy solar panels, which one's better, really? I mean, it comes down to what are you trying to do with them, and we can discuss a little bit about that. Go over which ones we like better. I mean, I've got my preference for certain things, and then my preference for others. But what it really comes down to is what you are looking to do. And you know what? I think that camera might just be a little bit too high. Let's pull that camera down just a little bit. Let's see a little bit. Maybe down here instead. See if that's a little bit better. Oh yeah, that's much better. Had that camera a little bit high. It sure makes for a difficult time for you guys to see me when the camera's like a mile away. So hopefully everyone is doing good tonight. Let me see if I can get the chats to come up and we can do our normal chit chat before we get started here. Let's see. There we go. Donald says, good evening, Matt. Cold. Yeah, it's cold here too. The shed's a little bit cool tonight. I wouldn't say cold, but a little bit cool. I don't know if I can see. Maybe I can see what the temperature actually is out here. I think I got a couple thermostats in this place. Let's just see. I hooked up a couple of new screens tonight. So let me just grab my little screen switcher here and see if I can. Let's see. Screen share. Okay, so now tonight you got a couple of different views here. One, we got the test board over there, so when I walk over there I don't have to figure out how to do it. The other one's my computer here, which just kind of camera just follows me around and does what I do. And then my normal view that I got pointed here, and then of course the screen here. So on this screen, yeah, we can see the north shed is 60 degrees, the south shed is 59.9, the inverter is 73, and of course that's the 6000 XP's thermostat. And then the cabinet. So inside of this cabinet, I've noticed when it's warm out here, it gets a little warmer too because of all this equipment that's up in here. So you can see tonight I got a couple of different ports here. One to keep this charged, and two for the network cable for the live stream. So don't take any. But this is working really great. I mean, 100%, 12 volt powered at this point. Converted all the outlets to just regular old plugs, voltage things. So that's working out really well. So, but yeah, it is a little bit cool tonight. Let me see if I can get this thing to switch back. So we have, this is our main camera tonight. We have the test system, so I can get up and walk over to the test system now. And from here I can point things out and do all that. Because I noticed last week I did that a few times. I haven't tried the phone, so I probably ought to give us let's see if I can do. Let's see if the phone is working, because that's going to be an important one tonight. I got the phone here. Oh yeah, look at that. So I got the phone here because we're going to take a look at some. I opened up some used solar panels, as you can see here. And I want to discuss, where the diodes go. And then I got a big package of diodes in. and took a bunch of them out of these existing solar panels, and I'm going to show you guys how I test them and all that, because this batch of panels that I got, the big problem they were having is they had a lot of diodes that were out and making the panels look bad. To make matters more complicated, they had some panels that were bad too. So we'll discuss a little bit about that. So looks like all the cameras are working again this week, which is good. Hope everybody's doing well. Let me see if I can find my chat screen again. Takes me a while to learn how I got this thing set up every week. Anything under 70 is cold. Yeah, you got that much right. Us Floridians are wimps when it comes to temperature, and anything under 70 is cold. I'm gonna. I had the bit miner on out here, and I shut it down because I didn't want the noise to bother me as we were doing this, but I probably should have left it on because damn it, it's cold in here now. But we'll deal. Maybe I'll use some extra power, get the inverter to run a little bit more. Still got plenty of power today. I'm sitting at 81%. So last night I was seeing the storms were supposed to come through, and so I turned off all the automatic stuff so it wouldn't come on this morning and burn down. And you know, I should have left it on because it's all driven based on forecast of what the weather's going to be. So the forecast went up last night in the middle of the night, and so it didn't turn the bit miner on this morning early, so it didn't drain the batteries down enough to store everything. So by, I think it was like 1 o'clock, let's see if I can switch that over here, play with these screens a little bit more. So 1 o'clock, I think it was. Yeah, look at that. At 1 o'clock, I hit 12:45. I hit 100%, and I'd had to turn the bit miner up on the high speed, and it ran for 3 hours. It looks like, just blasting away at 100%. I don't know how much power I lost. I should have ended up with quite a bit of power. Let's see what I ended up with. I ended up with 14, which is horrible. Oh no, that was yesterday. I ended up with, holy cow, I ended up with 35 even with that set. Holy moly, and you can see that dip right in the middle of the day too. Look at that. Right here where I turned that bit miner on up at full speed and was able to burn off a little extra to get those batteries to go down. But even that really wasn't enough. It stayed at 100% all day long. Now I've got the 24 volt system over there sitting way high also. It's sitting way up at, I think I ran it for a little while too, just to burn some of it off because I didn't want it getting full. Where is, oh, it's down here on this view. So it's at 70%, but it was at 90% also. So about 5 o'clock, I finally turned it on for a little while to burn off a little bit, but it, what I should have done is the logic says that if the prediction for tomorrow, which is right here, so today it estimated production was 22 kilowatt hours. And so it says if it's over 20 kilowatt hours, to turn the bit miner on about 7 a.m. and burn it all the way down to 25%, 20 or 25%, somewhere in there, because it takes that much buffer with how much production I got going. Well, I didn't notice that it wasn't on. I was not fully paying attention this morning, so I completely and totally missed it. I don't even know what time I got it turned on. Where did it come on here? At 7:35. So I lost a half hour of power burn off, and even that I don't think would have been enough to save me. I mean, that was just a huge production. So tomorrow, see if I can get this screen to look right. There we go. So tomorrow we're supposed to have 22.2. So even a better production day than today. So I'll make sure that over here on the very far right, I have, if the allow AM burn off is turned on, then it'll automatically kick on at 7 a.m. and run that battery all the way down for me so that I got enough room to store it. But that's a lot of, that prediction is based on just a couple of sets of panels. It's not based on the whole thing. So I think what it's estimating is this power here, the 6000 XP, and it ended up with 25.7, and it estimated 22. So it was pretty close. Yeah, not perfect, but it's been pretty close. This morning I checked the 6000 XP and imported 2.5 kilowatt hours. Tonight it's at 96%. Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. They are the exactly the same problem. I did the same thing this morning, except instead of burning off the 5 or 10 kilowatt hours, I just let it stay in the battery. And then by the time I realized it was too late. I thought it would be able to keep up, and but at the good side, I didn't actually import any. All I did was did not use everything. I can't believe I was able to generate 35, is that what that said? 35 kilowatts? That's got to be my record day at this point. I mean, this is from a bunch of used panels sitting in a solar, sitting out in the yard. Yeah, 20, where did that number go? Oh, it's over here. 35.3. So 35.3 kilowatt hours of solar today, and I burned 33.2. So as you can see, it didn't go the way I wanted it to. I'll turn this back on here in an hour or so when we're done here, and let it burn down a little bit further down to, it's sitting at 82%, and I've got to get rid of some of this over here too, because this is at 70%, and it went from 50% to 90%. So I need 40% on that, or it'll be full also. And I don't need that. I need to get, so I'll be doing some extra bit mining today. Although, bit mining has got a little frustrating because I did all that what is it called? Digibyte bit mining. And I felt like I was making a lot of progress, got all this, several thousand Digibyte coins and earned them, and that was really good. So then I tried Kwai. I heard was really popular, so I did Kwai collecting for a while and collected a bunch of Kwai. I did really good with that one. I had a couple of really good streaks where I would find, 8 or 10 blocks in a single day. I think I had one the other day where I found 12 blocks in one day. And then the other day I was reading the most popular one right now, the most profitable one is one called Fractal. And I'm doing this for the long-term hope and prayer that something goes bananas and I make a whole bunch of money off having a whole bunch of, coins sitting in a bucket somewhere that just turn into a gold mine. You do quiet, 0.4 cents a token, and you got, 20,000 of them, and they go to $1. You could end up making a bunch of money. So that's kind of the idea. So I'm not looking for, well, I shouldn't say I'm not looking to get rich. I'm hoping to get rich, but on a lucky streak, not necessarily, bit mining in a shared pool for Bitcoin or something like that, where I make $3 a day guaranteed, and I'm, going to make a couple $1,000s a year. That's not really what I'm after. If I'm going to hit the gold mine, I'm going to either hit it or I'm not going to hit it. But I'll show you what happens on a fractal. So this has been my story of fractal every day so far. I go out there, as you can see here, I started bit mining. It was 7:30 or so this morning. That's what we saw on the other screen. Shows 7:20, 7:30 here also. And I shut it off just before I came in here to set up, so 6:20 or so. And it ran all day long, and I didn't get anything out of it. It's very, very bummer. Now, I know it's almost 11 times the difficulty as the other ones, so I wouldn't expect to get a whole bunch of them. So I got to have a little bit more patience. Now, when I hit them, they're going to be worth, I don't know, $20 or so. So, I mean, it has the potential, I think, to be more valuable in the future, I guess, is what I'm saying. I don't know. It's all like big, stupid gamble anyway. It's just a fun way to burn all the extra solar power and maybe get lucky in the process. Nothing there that could be more luck than that. I haven't been paying attention to that microphone. I hope you guys can hear me well. If you can, please someone make sure someone says something. Say that you can either hear me well or not. I know when I sit back like this, maybe you can't. Well, I hope you can. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about panels now. So what I did, I got a big shipment of panels in this past week, and I don't know if I can show them to you. Maybe it's still light enough out there to show them to you. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if I can go to my phone here. Where's my phone? There it is. Okay, so we'll go try this. Oh yeah, there's my phone. All right, so I'm gonna walk out here and hope that you guys can see this. You know, it just dawned on me. I walked away from the microphone and you can't hear me when I do that. Let me see if I can add another audio source, capture source, because I've got this microphone on this week also. I've got the this microphone on also this week, so I should be able to configure that one to work. This is kind of cool how that works. Okay, there we go. So anyway, this week what we want to talk about is these solar panels, and I want to kind of go over with you some of the things that I've gone through and show you some of the tests that I've been doing. So one of the big things that you have to watch out for when you buy solar panels, and let me just show you what I ran into and show you some of the things you can look for. Obviously, one of the easiest things to test is just the voltage to make sure that they put out voltage. Now, I did run into a little bit of a problem this week with voltage. I'm just going to turn this screen a little bit where I can see it and see if I can point that here. Oh, yeah. So this, and I'm going to grab this cover and show you how this comes on. So this solar panel comes like this. Okay? And so I just take a little screwdriver and I pop this off. And when I pop this off, there are 3 diodes in here. And these solar panels are separated into 3 different pieces. So one diode goes here, one diode goes here, and one diode goes here. Now, this allows the power to pass from here to here, from here to here, and here to here, and to bypass if there is a problem with this piece of solar connecting. And so it allows, it basically is like a shutoff valve. So it doesn't allow the power to flow backwards if there's nothing being produced there. But a lot of the times when these go out, what happens is it prevents these sections of the solar panels from working. And so there was some of those that were out. Now let me show you a really simple test you can do on these to make sure that they're working. And I'm going to grab a meter tool real quick. Sorry, I went through and cleaned up a little bit earlier, which basically means that I can't find anything. Okay, so here we are. Make sure I got the right screen here. Oh yeah, I do. So this is just basically a simple meter, and all I'm going to do is just do on this meter. There's a continuity test, but the continuity test in this particular meter is also, you'll notice it has a picture of a diode on there, and that diode picture matches the flow of power through a diode. So I don't know if I can set this phone up where you can actually see this test. That would be a little bit better idea here. Let me see if I can do this. And if I do this, don't unpause my phone. There we go. All right, now let me try putting this in phone mode. Oh, look at that. Okay, so with that meter, you can see the diode here. Now, the power should flow towards this stripe. So what you want is, when you're testing these, you want it to only flow in one direction. Of course, I get a bad one. Let me just see if I can find one here that's not bad here real quick. And you can see the picture here points that power flows from this side to that side. Take one of these. Well, my meter doesn't seem to be working right tonight. Let me see, guys. Play with this for a few minutes, see if we can figure out what's going on here. So, anyway, the idea here is that the solar panels had issues. Two different pieces here. One, the diodes themselves were bad. And the second one is that, let's see if I can point this camera up there. That would be better. Let's see here, guys. Look at that. That's great. Okay. So the diodes allow that power to flow through and it doesn't allow it to go backwards, which is really nice. So it allows this to connect to that, and that to connect to this, and this to connect to that, but only when the power is flowing this way. What it prevents is it prevents the flow of power in the wrong direction, and it allows each one of these to operate independently. So the power from this one can flow through, and this one can add to it, and this one can add to it, and that one can add to it. So you end up with three different sections of a panel. Now, what I was having problems with is that on several of these panels, a couple of the diodes themselves were out. And then on several of these panels, there was damage to a third of each of the panels, and they didn't work at all. So what would happen, or they would work, but they would only work until I actually put a real tester on them. So if I put voltage to them, they did just fine. But when I actually connect power, or connect it to the tester to them, let's see if I can get the tester to actually show us the voltage here. These LED lights should give you a little bit of voltage. Does that work? No, not enough. Not enough to get anything out of it, unfortunately. Either way, but what would happen is it would register all three parts of the working panels, and it would be at 35 or 36, around 35, 36 volts. But then I would put it on the tester. And what would happen is the voltage would drop and lose one section of it as the power flow through it would cut off and the solar panel would stop working. And then you would lose tons of the power, and it was as if 1/3 of it was shaded all the time. And so I understand why the guy got rid of all the panels, because 1/3 of them had bad diodes so that they weren't turning on in the first place. And then another 1/3 of them would have problems where even though they turned on, the panel itself was damaged and not allowing any real power to go through the panel. The voltage was there when you tested it voltage-wise. Now, if you took the shorted version, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, one other way to kind of confirm this is in daylight, if you take these wires and connect them together like this, and then you run an amp check and compare that and run that on this wire, just connect these together and run that on this wire, then you should reach it'll have a short circuit current here, which it says 8.6 amps. Now that would be at full with no degradation, it should get 8.6 amps. What I was getting was closer to about 6 or 4 if there was a bad section on there, and I would only get 1 or 2 if there was a good section. This is in good light. Now, if you test these in not so perfect light, then all you're really going to be able to test is the voltage, and you're not going to have a real firm idea. So the problem with this group of panels, and this is the worst set of panels that I have got. I've had a few that had a diode here that was out, one diode here, one diode there, which is why I have the big package of diodes. This one had hundreds of diodes that were, not hundreds. This one had a good 24 diodes that were burned out. It also had, I have another 6 or 8 panels. 6 or 8's not right. 6 total that had diodes out, plus the 4 bore panels that were that only 1 or 2 sections of them wouldn't work at all. And then I have 3 panels that were broke. So I ended up picking up 42 panels. The video for this one comes out tomorrow, actually. It tells you all about it. I ended up picking up 42 panels. I had 8 of them, 6 or 8, somewhere around there, that had diodes that are out. I was able to fix those. And I had 4 that have slices that are broken, and 3 that are just completely shattered. So I lost 7 panels out of 42. So I ended up with 35 panels for a big whopping $0. It was a great deal. And I had to go and pick them up and everything. So that part of it was kind of done. Now, the question that I always get is, are used panels better than new panels? And the answer I give is not a straightforward answer, because it really depends on what you're going to do with them. And let's go through a scenario. If you're going to do like me, where you're going to sit them along a fence, vertically on a fence, you're not looking for maximum performance, you don't have a big investment in installation, you're not putting in tons and tons of them for real live production of... Oh, I walked out there, you could see those panels. Good. I just saw it on the replay. If that's what you're after, is what I'm doing, and just, casual power for a shed, casual power for this or that, you're not trying to live off of it, then yes, used solar panels are wonderful. They're cheap, they're easy to find, or at least I think they're easy to find. And that's, I just noticed this. CJ, thank you. Mike, okay. Thank you, Donald. Appreciate that. Leads might not be plugged in. Yeah, I thought that's what it was too, but it doesn't seem to want to participate. But I've had problems with this one. I think the batteries are actually weak. I think that's all it is. I've had problems with it the last week, and usually once I start having problems with it, that it just keeps going and it never, although it is beeping just fine. I want that new one because I know that one's good. Anyway, so the question always becomes is are the new panels better than the used panels? Are the used panels better than the new panels? And the answer is really, like I said, a mixed bag of tricks, and I think it's just the battery. I wonder if that other one checks for... Right. It does. See if this one does, and move the camera back over there and show you guys. Give me a weird reading. Can never be the way you want it. Nothing can ever be easy. Oh, there we go. Okay. I figured it out. All right, let me see if I can put this back the way I had it a few minutes ago. You guys will be able to see this. This is much better. All right. This one's diodes tester is actually working once I got it in the right thing. Okay, so in this one I had to actually put it on diode, and it has separate continuity and a separate diode, and then I had to go around through select to actually select diode test. So if you take these diodes and you can see there, that one shows the power going through. Now it should only flow one way. So this way can remain and not show you anything. And it should always flow from positive on this side to negative on the stripe side. And that should always be what you are able to see. Now the question becomes, see, that one's got a lot of fluctuation in it, so that makes me really wonder about it. Where that one's nice and consistent. And I'll take this one. Nice and consistent. Take this one. Nice and consistent. Come back to this one. And looks like that one's okay too. This one, let's see if these are the same kind of diodes here. Should, yeah. So you can see it only tells you that voltage is going through, and it's allowed to go through. But if you hook it up backwards, it does not go through. You cannot get the connection to show you. So this diode prevents power from going this direction, allowing those solar panels to not burn off power from other panels. And so if you have one panel, let's say you have two panels in a string, and one panel is shaded and the other is not. If you didn't have the diodes in there, the shaded panel could burn the power from the panel that's working as opposed to bypassing it. Now, when it bypasses it, you lose the voltage, you lose anything that it's going to generate, you lose all of that. But at the same time, at least you don't lose the panel that's good. So it was one of the very first things that they started doing. Now, this is really important when you are running a lot of panels. Like when I did the test on the solar shed, for those of you who watched the videos back on the solar shed, when I hooked it all up in 12 volt mode and ran all 12 panels in pure parallel into the big 250, 100 charge controller here. And I ran them all into that and all paralleled, and they produced a ton of power because then shading didn't matter. But it was very important at that point that all the diodes worked, because if they didn't work when they were parallel, they would beat each other when they weren't working properly and force power back through those diodes backwards and stuff like that. So you wanted to make sure all the diodes were working. So that was one of the things that you can do, is you can buy, and I've bought some of these inline diodes. Show you the problem I had with them, and I'll show you what they are. So these are inline diodes, and basically what this, and I built one too, just for fun. Let me show you the one I built. It actually demonstrates what they are much better than the actual. Oh, I thought I built one. Oh, here. So inline diode is basically this, and it's basically the diode from the positive on this side and the negative on this side, or the, excuse me, the positive feeds in and the power goes this way. So the diode is in the middle. Now these you can buy. I bought this one. I made this one, and after I had bought these, I thought, well, that's nothing fancy. All they did was just put a case around it. And I thought, well, that case sure doesn't feel very good. I wonder what's going to happen when it gets hot. So I plugged it into a real system and let it run. And this is when I was testing in the solar shed. And as you can see, it melted. It melted the plastic from getting hot from having all of those, having that panel go through it. Now, I only had each of these hooked up, one of these for each panel, in order to just validate that all of the diodes were working and to give it a little extra oomph for the whole panel had a diode, and then there was 3 sections within the panel that had a diode. But it seemed to prevent any problems and any backfeeding. You could buy those that way. Now, the question I always get is, are used panels better or are new panels better? And the answer is, it depends on what you're going to do with them. Let me give you a couple examples. One, you're going to hook up a shed like I do. You're going to have power for fun. Used panels are great if you have the space. So that's a second caveat. If you don't have space, then you don't want a panel like this big giant one that we have over here. This thing is, 65 inches tall. It's 40 inches wide, and it basically generates 200 watts. Whereas if I go and buy a brand new one today, the same exact size, I can get, 500 watts, 600 watts out of it now. So they've gotten so much more efficient that if size is an issue, then used panels aren't your thing. And it's not because the used panels are bad and they degraded and blah, blah, blah. It's because the panels that they made back then, this was a 240 watt panel. So even 240 watts running at 80 or 90% of its capacity is still only 200 watts. And the 500 watt panel running at 80 or 90% capacity will be 400 watts. So as these panels age, the used panels will get better too. But these panels here are about 10 or 12 years old. And it's the worst set that I've seen. They were mounted on a house here in Florida. And my guess is they were there the whole time. Now, they were not well installed or maintained very well. As you saw when I was just trying to run that little test just a second ago, one of the things that, where did my iPad? One of the things that I ran into is that a lot of these connectors that they have on here are different. So this has some goofy little connector on it, and this has one of the newer connectors on it. And so it appears that the guy that was maintaining this was randomly replacing connectors on his system. Not only that, but in every solar system I have ever seen, this coming out of the panel, this always feeds the positive side. And in this case, all of this are wired backwards. Every one of them, this is the negative, this is the positive. Now, they're all labeled on here, but I think all the wires are just, the labels and everything are just backwards. That's all the commercial panels I've seen. This is a positive wire. And this is the negative wire. But in this case, every one of these 42 that I got, they are backwards. They are not done like that. And it's extremely aggravating because you have to build, bastard reversal wires to make everything work, or you have to hook things up backwards in here. So I had to build some special wires to feed up into. I used the Pikachu to feed these up into here. So I had to put the circuit breaker in here, and I had to label, some special wires to run out to them. Fortunately, he had a bunch of wires that were made, so I was able to do that. And that way I didn't have to hook up the bastard wire that basically takes the male and female and reverses them for me. Those wires are always bad news. They always end up showing up in the box when you want an extension, and you end up with that instead. But, so here on the Pikachu, I went ahead and hooked up the breaker for the battery connection. I went ahead and hooked up the breakers for the PV so I could turn it off and on. And then I hooked these up into some panels from that shipment that I've been testing in groups of 6, just to see how they work and stuff. And they've been working pretty good. So the answer is are they better or are they worse? And the answer is it depends on what you're going to do with it. And I know I keep coming back to this, but I never seem to finish the answer. If you're going to be installing these panels on your roof, or you're going to be installing these panels somewhere where it's real critical that you're operating them or whatnot, then follow the link down below. I put 2 links down there for panels. The first one is the Signature Solar for new panels. There's a lot of good new panels out these days, and usually you can find them, when their new ones come out, they usually have them under 30 cents a kilowatt. You can get them for 25, 26, 27 cents a kilowatt hour, or kilowatt, for panels, a watt, I'm sorry. Blech, what am I talking about? 26, 27, 28 cents a watt for new panels. And they've got good deals going on for shipping lately, so that would help. If you're interested in used panels, the only place that I have seen reputable that sells used panels. The video tomorrow will show you my system for finding used panels and buying them for almost nothing. So if you're not a subscriber now, subscribe so that tomorrow you can see that video when it comes out. And it will show you my method for this year. I have one in my back in my thing where I used to find the first set of panels that I found, the 12 from the Solar Shed when I first started the Solar Shed series. But this one's all fresh and new. It was used this year to get the 42 panels that I have now. And it tells you really the secrets of what kind of contacts you need, who you need to get to help you, and where I find these panels and how I find these panels. Now, I will give you a little bit of insight into it. It is not click a switch and you're done. You want click a switch and you're done. Go to the link below. There is a link down there for SanTan Solar. SanTan Solar sells good used panels. They test them, they validate them, they tell you about the blemishes, and you know exactly what you're buying. Some of those panels can be $20 a piece, especially if you live near them. It is a fantastic deal for them in the way they do that. I don't know where they get them. My suspicion is that they buy them from solar installers. The solar installers take them down, they buy them and sell them for them, or buy them from those installers and sell them when they're doing upgrades and stuff like that. My method is to find people that are getting rid of their solar panels, getting a new roof on, getting a new, solar farms that are closing down, just trying to ditch them. Disposal of solar panels can be very expensive if you're just trying to get rid of them. So a lot of people will give them to you if you will get them the hell out of their yard. But the key here is, this isn't something where you decide one day you want some panels and the next day you get panels. This is something that takes some time, and you have have to be at the right place at the right time, and you have to be willing to go right then and there to get the panels, or you're going to miss them. Somebody else will take them and pick them up for them. So that's the big thing for that. Now, let's talk about the purpose of the discussion, which I keep getting back to, is, are they better? And the answer is, new panels are more efficient. They're getting to where they're very, very cost effective. But if you have the space and you have the willpower to repair some of them, or even if you don't have that, you just have the willpower to just pick them up and throw out the ones you don't want, or buy some used ones and be very careful in how you buy them. Watch how you're testing them. Make sure that you're either testing them with the voltage wise, and there is a video that I have on that where you test the voltage, and then you use a ammeter to test the short circuit amperage of them using a good meter with batteries that's in good shape. That's the first way to test it. The second way is, I just got this in this week, and this is a tester, and it basically is very much like a meter, very much like the meter. The only difference is, see if I can get the light to come. Oh, perfect. Is you can see here, you end up with the voltage, the amperage, the maximum power point, and how much watts you can pull out of it. Now, when you hook this up to a solar panel, or in this case, I bought the 2,000 watt version, you can actually check the panel to make sure that it actually produces and that all of the components inside are working in that situation. So this one is really, really, it was very, very inexpensive. I can even include a link for it on Amazon if you guys are interested. They sell two models, a 1,000 watt model and a 2,000 watt model. I got the 2,000 watt model because it allowed me to, hold on a second, I'll bring it up on the screen for you guys, show it to you. Let me just get there real quick. It allowed me to not only test one panel here and there, but it allowed me to test strings of the size that I am using. I think that's the right button there. Oh yeah, we got all kinds of different camera views in this one too tonight, which is nice. Okay, so you can see here, this is the 2,000 watt solar panel tester for MPPT, and it basically contains all of these fields here, and it works real well. You plug a panel in, or you plug a series of panels in, or even a set of parallel panels, and it will give you what you need. Now, it has a maximum of 35 volts, or excuse me, 150 volts and 35 amps. So you don't want to overdo that, unless you get the smaller version. Now, the smaller version is a few dollars cheaper. So this one's $43, and then the littler one is $28.49. And I will include the link for these. Let me get that link to you real quick, in case you guys are interested in it. And I will put these in the show notes for those of you that are watching replays. Pardon my screen while I jump over to the chat window. Post this for you guys. There you go. Okay. So this allows you to test those panels by simply plugging them in. Now, it comes with a couple of cords. Let me show you the modifications I made to deal with solar panels. Because traditionally, if you're working on your own panels and you're replacing all the ends and the tips to where you have exactly the same ends and tips every time, then they sell these. Oh, look at that. They sell these with these two pre-made standard MC4 connectors. And this one is kind of a little bit odd. This one here, when you plug it in, it puts it behind this little clip. Now the cool part is the device that released them actually works really well and it pops it off. So I think this is better than the normal one. But what I found is that not all MC4 connectors, when I go somewhere to test them, actually works. So what I did is I made one that matches the exact ones that are on my panels, and I made one for the panels that I just bought. I took two ends off and just have open wires here, and on this end I put the two that are from these goofy panels that I just bought because I was testing so many of them. I wanted to have the ends that match them so I could plug them in and trust the readings that I was getting. And this meter comes with a direct connect, or alligator clips I'm talking about. So you get this with the alligator clips, and you can clip it onto any type of wire you want. Now, I should be able to go practically anywhere I want at this point with these connectors and be able to test all of the different solar panels, because between these three, this is your standard MC4s. These are the generic ones that you can buy, to the cheap Chinese ones that you can buy, and then these are the goofy ones that I was working with here. And then of course you have the alligator clamp version that came with this. So it ended up being a pretty good investment, but what I liked about it the most is it allows me to just plug something in and make sure that when I build a string, that I know it's working the way it was. What I want to do here in the next month or so, hopefully, it may be a little bit longer than that because I'm about to take a long trip to Texas. For all of my Texas folks, I will be there for the South Texas Fair. My wife's coffee shop will be there, vending and serving coffee for those, I don't know, what is it, 10, 12, 15 days that fair goes on. But it allows me to test. What I'd like to do is do some parallel testing and see how different panels parallel affects the power that you get. Anyway, it comes with a nice little case, all the different adapters that you need for it. Makes it really easy to test everything. So that was why I did that, so I could see it. Now, I have the space for the used panels to lean against walls and to generate all this power and all of that. So for me, it's fine. It's no big deal. I love the used panels. Now, on my house, I've got 31 415 watt panels there, and those were new. I didn't put used panels on the house because that's not something that I have all the space in the world. I needed that amount of solar power to basically get rid of the electric bill. On top of the RV, I don't want to unmount and mount panels. So could I have put used panels up there? Sure, I have tons of them. That's not the problem. But the use case for that was, I'm going to drill holes in the roof of my RV, and the last thing I want to do is find out 6 months from now I got a panel that's not working correctly. I found that out in my backyard on my fence. I walk over and I unplug it and I plug in another panel. If I find it laying in the yard out in front where I'm testing some panels, I pick it up, throw it out, put in another one, as I've been doing the last couple of days. But if I find it on top of a permanently affixed place where I'm counting on that power to run my home, or I'm counting on that power to heat my my chicken coop, or whatever the case may be, to provide hot water, or to keep my cabin from freezing in the winter, whatever the case may be, if it is important that it actually be there and generate more power than you have room for the used ones, or that you have to mount them in a place that doesn't accommodate redoing it easily, then I would say no. Buy the new panels. The price differences aren't that great. Let's take a look at the price. Let's do some of that math on the price differences. So you figure on used panels, you can find them for, let's say, $25 for $25 for a 250 watt panel would be a very standard price that you could find them at. So that's 25 divided by 250 watts. So that's about 10 cents a watt for used panels, and that doesn't include shipping or anything like that. You should be able to find them in your local area, and if you go out in Facebook Marketplace or something like that, you should pretty easily be able to find some of those panels at that age. A lot of these resellers out there are finding the solar farms, picking them up super cheap, and then reselling them to $20 to $25 to $50 a piece to the general public who only wants to buy one or two, because those solar farms may be reselling them out in large bundles, and that's where you got to kind of get involved in that if you want that. Now, new ones, you can get those at 26, 27 cents a watt, which means that you're going to pay almost 3 times, 2.5 to 3 times more for new panels as opposed to used panels. If you don't have the space, you don't have the option. If you're going to put them up on your roof and you don't want to go back up on your roof to fix them all the time, you don't have the option. If you're putting them out in the backyard, then by all means, used solar panels and make the best of it, because they're fun. And as you can see, I generated over 30 kilowatt hours today with a bunch of used panels and not really any mounting system whatsoever. Now, hopefully this summer we'll be able to change some of it. So that was a whole lot of talking, and I haven't stopped to see if anyone said anything. Nope, no chats going on whatsoever. You guys are awful quiet tonight. Hope everybody is taking it in and understands the what I'm trying to say here is that there is no one answer to solve this for you or for me. It's basically whatever you need depends on what you can buy. And it also comes down to what you can afford. If you're building a little system to run your TV or run a refrigerator during a power outage, and during the power outage you're going to throw the panels in the backyard and prop them up against the wall or something, use solar panels. It's cheap, it's easy, it makes perfect sense. So use case is everything in this case. I find it very sad that so many of the panels that we find out in the market are still functional, but are basically not being used anymore, that are sitting in people's backyards, and they're sitting in this, and they're looking for someone like you to come along and take them away from them. And they're looking for someone like you that wants to use them. And a lot of the times it's more about you convincing them that, you're using them for a hobby and fun to get them, to loosen up and get rid of those panels. So, but I'll go over that. That will be released in tomorrow's video, show you where I found the panels, show you me loading them up in the truck and how I got them and all that kind of stuff, and walk you through a little bit about, as I'm talking about here, about how I do it and everything. So, that was what I wanted to discuss tonight. I don't mind just hanging out for a little while and chatting and talking also. It's been a busy week. So last night I had a fun moment when I'm sitting in my, sitting inside and have my laptop in my lap, have my coffee sitting there, and I hear this giant pop that scares the crap out of me, and I jump and I spill my coffee all over my computer. Unfortunately, my computer isn't hurt at all. And my hot water heater, the connection from the copper line was directly connected into the top of the hot water heater, and it had just basically, the two different metals had not gotten along very well with the salt air and water around here, and they had rotted, and over a period of 10 or 15 years, it basically hit that breaking point, and it just popped, ripped the threads right out of the top of the hot water heater, and just spewed water everywhere. Now, unfortunately, I had just finished a video on power auditing, and hooking up a internal system to monitor all your outlets and your breakers and everything. So I had all the breakers and the shutoff valves all just had finished labeling them all. I was able to just flip it all off and get in a new hot water heater day. But that made for a fun week. It's never fun to find out that you lost your hot water heater and you got to replace it. So anyway, so that was my week. It didn't, although it didn't start well, but it'll end okay. We'll make our way through it. Anyway, how's everyone out there doing? I haven't looked to see who is even here this week. Let's see if I can figure it out. Oh, that's not working. Huh. Well, that stinks. It's like that browser window doesn't want to show it. Anyway, you can see that I did a little bit of work here on the solar shed this week. We'll go over some of those changes, and we'll talk about that for a little bit. So one of the things that I did here on the solar shed is, you can see I put myself in a switch for the 12 volt to 48 volt. Originally, when I put this in, I was never planning on shutting it off. And it worked. It ran flawlessly until I decided the other day that I needed to turn the power off up here and work on those wires over there, and I had no way to do that. And when I made that decision, that is when I decided to put this in, not as a breaker, more as a switch to just be able to shut the power off to all of my 12 volt and 5 volt monitoring stuff. It being on this from directly off the 48 volt battery is so much nicer, because I can shut the main power off to the system now, and all of the systems goes off with the exception of just that, which leaves my internet running and all of my monitoring devices and everything. It also, if it pops the break heater, it'll also leave that on and let me, so I can see what's going on and everything. I also installed all of the breakers for the Pikachu, the EG4 3000 EHV here. I installed two of them. One is the PV that's got polarity on it for the positive and the negative. And then the other one is the DC battery cable that went over to the 48 volt. So I could use this as the PV charger for the new solar panels that I got. I'm just hooking those up at 6 in series at a time and just kind of running some tests on them and making sure they're all working. And then I'm using that in confirmation with the other device, the other testing device, to make sure those solar panels work. That's been real good. I like the fact that this thing, you can leave the inverter off, and when it gets enough solar power, it turns the charger on and starts charging, and then when the sun goes down, it just shuts down and goes off, and you don't even know it's there. It's very nice in that thing. Although I haven't been super impressed, I'm going to do a little bit of a comparison on this unit compared to something like a Victron charge controller. I want to know, I think the power loss on that is dramatically higher than something like Victron, even when I don't have the inverter on, which is a little bit disturbing. I didn't think it would be that high, but it feels high. I haven't confirmed it. So maybe at this point, maybe I'm just mistaken, and I hope I am. But right now, that's what it's looking like. The 6000 XP performs flawlessly every day. This is a great unit for a whole house operations. Running one or two of these in parallel, you can run basically your whole house and operate everything. I run the bit miner off of it, running 2,000 to 3,000 watts for 6 or 8 hours a day on that one, and don't have any problems with it flawlessly. I've also got one in my RV, and I love both of them. They've both been very, very good units, and they're both nice there. And it runs through the circuit breaker box here, and everything in the solar shed is 100% off the grid. I do have the grid here. I did do that when the big storms came through, just to kind of test it. And when I first got the bit miner, I used a couple hundred kilowatt hours testing that and making sure it works. But now that I'm using it primarily for my grounding, it goes to the house ground, and that way all the panels are all ground to the same ground, all the inverters are in the same ground, and the house is in the same ground, and everything's in the same grounding system. So that's nice. Anyway, that's the work that I did there. I don't think I did anything over on the test bench this week. That's been since last week when I redid the wiring. I don't know if let's see if I can point it down there for that. See if we can show you that wiring. Got that there. So you can see the wiring I did on the test system here. I wasn't happy with the copper clad wires that I had here for the charge controllers. Even though this one's charges at 20 amps and this one charges at 35 amps, I wasn't happy with them, so I reran this 8-ohm wire here and wired them in. I like the way that they run across in parallel like that. It kind of looks nice. If I could get the rest of these wires all cleaned up and look like that, it would be pretty good. I do need to do a session where I pick up all of these wires, maybe, and run it in a compartment like I did over on the other bench. That would look really nice. But considering this is a test system, the problem that I run into is that I'm always moving things around. Like this last week or so, I've been testing this metal case battery and doing everything with it, and then that's still discharging. That's interesting. And you hear the charge inverter running. It obviously got charged up to a point where it automatically turned itself on to discharge, which is nice. It's transferring that power all over into the 6000 XP. Well, actually, it's doing it through this charge inverter here, which puts it in the same battery as the 6000 XP. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for this week. Hope you guys tune in next week when we'll do something else. If you've got any suggestions on what you'd like to see, I would love to hear them. I'm totally open this week. The solar panels was kind of my primary thing I had to deal with, so I figured I would bring that up and kind of show you guys what I've been dealing with all week and all the different panels that I've got. I do have quite a few panels that came out of this in pretty good shape. It looks like it's going to be in the 30 range. I probably will end up selling some of them used here locally, so if any of you guys would like to get some panels, let me know. I haven't decided on, I probably will have a couple of different grades of quality and prices for those, but I'm not going to charge too much for them. I'm just going to make my money back and pay a little bit to upgrade the shed a little bit. So anyway, you guys have a good week. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. And let's take a look at the subscribers this week. Do a little bit of celebration for that. I haven't done celebration on subscribers in all week yet. All right, we are sitting at 19,492. I got the big 20K coming, and I really, guys, thank you so much. It is such a nice thing to see that number to keep climbing. To get to 20,000 is going to be huge, and I will have to do something special, and I don't know if we will make it by next week, but if we do, count on something special. I don't know what we'll do, but thank you so much for all of your subscriptions, and any of you members that are out there, thank you so much for signing up, being a member. I know the early access to the videos is getting more and more popular as we've been going the last few weeks. I got a couple of them out there that's got several hits. And I don't have a whole lot of members, only a few of you, but those of you that are there, thank you very much. You know who you are. I appreciate it. You do help pay for things for me to enhance stuff here in the shed. And as you can see, I really do enjoy it. I put a lot of my own money in, and my wife learned that when we did income tax last week. So hopefully she's not watching, because I spent a lot more on it than I thought I did. But you guys have paid back a whole lot of that. So thank you so much. The affiliate links down below, I do get a commission from them. I don't make a whole lot off of it, but it does help pay for things. So thank you for using them if you can. That goes for both the Amazon and the SanTan and the Signature Solar. Make sure if you're using the Signature Solar, also use my coupon code. It'll be in the description below. It does change every now and then, and I keep it up to date on all the old videos, so it should be current everywhere you look. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you again next week, and thank you for subscribing. Thank you for everything that you do, and thanks for watching.